so you're at college, you're not identifying as gay yet. And by the way, during this time, do you have a faith? I should have already asked that, but like, are you practicing a faith? You were raised Catholic, but are you connected?
I mean, God, I was so not connected to it. I mean, I would have to go to mass on Saturdays with my family, and it was just like an expectation. And in, a Jesuit, we would, say the Lord's Prayer in Latin every day. And I took Latin for 4 years.
I actually took Latin growing up too. Isn't it lovely?
I love it. Yeah.
Do you remember any of it?
I was first in Latin all 4 years. I was first in my class.
Look at this guy. Wow.
I know, it was crazy. But, but I never in high school, I just was like this. God wasn't relevant to my life. I didn't want anything to do with God. And just because I was already just kind of like on this other path, and I was already searching for other things and doing other things. And so God was just like not something I didn't think about God. I didn't really care. I just wanted to pursue my life and do my own thing.
Did you ever feel like what I'm doing might be a sin and I might go to hell? Like, was there a sense of like sin and good and evil, and what I'm doing is like bad? Did they talk about, same-sex activities are bad? Yeah. I mean, was any of that part of your consciousness, or was it more like, hey, God is nice, but not relevant?
Well, in the beginning, when my first kind of few sexual experiences, I felt such deep shame and guilt, like so much shame. But as you continue to keep doing it, you just become more callous to it, and your heart just becomes calloused. And then you just kind of forget. You just, at a certain point, I mean, especially when I moved to LA, my heart was so calloused at that point that I didn't even think there was anything wrong at all with homosexual behavior. So yeah, in the beginning there certainly was. And it's like you have to sort of, it's like in Romans 1, Paul talks about, suppressing the truth. And he talks about the three exchanges. It's exchanging the lie for a truth, exchanging life for a truth. And he uses the illustration he uses for suppressing the truth is really interesting, because he uses homosexual behavior as that illustration. And why does he use that illustration? Because anatomically, physiologically, psychologically, it's clear that a man and a woman go together. You have to really suppress the truth to engage in homosexual behavior. And so that's what I was doing in high school. I was continuously suppressing the truth. Like, after each successive kind of encounter with somebody, or going out to a gay bar or whatever it was, I was just consistently and continuously suppressing the truth more and more and more until the truth was no longer even in my vision. So, yeah.
If someone had asked you at 15, why is homosexual activity wrong? Would you have known what to say, or just said the church says so or the Bible says so?
I probably would have said the church says so. And also kind of in an Aristotelian way, I would have said it's clear from nature.
Okay.
That it doesn't work. And, I think the reason the Bible is so clear on this issue in the Old Testament and the New Testament, but I think the reason it is because it was a capital crime in the Old Testament, right? So why was it a capital crime? Because I don't know if you remember the story of Onan in Genesis.
Yeah.
And so God tells him he has to marry his brother's wife because the brother dies, and Onan doesn't want to do it. And then he has sexual relations with her, and then he basically spills his seed.
Basically masturbates.
Yeah.
Using her, but like.
And God strikes him dead. Okay. So why did God do that? Because God's all about life, and he's all about procreation. And So that's why I think in the Bible, homosexual behavior is dealt with so severely, is because it brings death, not life. And that's why that's why Paul is so harsh on it. And people love to say, I was at lunch yesterday with someone who said this, but Jesus never talked about it. And I was like, okay, well, Jesus was speaking to Jews, and the Jews had the Torah, and they knew very well that homosexual behavior was a capital crime, and that it was wrong. So Jesus didn't need to reiterate that to them. He did reiterate the creation ordinance that a man shall leave his wife and a man shall leave his family and join to a wife, and the two will become one flesh. He reiterated that, and he reiterated what marriage is. But he didn't have to say, but Paul was speaking to Gentiles, and Gentiles had no idea they didn't know what was up or down. The Corinthians were just like, oh, I'll sleep with my stepmom. So Paul had to make it clear. And
like, if you want to follow Jesus, you don't do promiscuity, you don't do homosexual acts, you don't do fornication. Yeah. These are things you don't do if you want to be a Christian. You had to spell it out.
He had to spell it out for the Gentiles. And also, and so that's why Jesus didn't, in my opinion, and I think it's very obvious and clear that Jesus didn't have to speak about it because he was speaking to Jews. But so I think I just suppressed the truth so hardcore. I mean, just for years and years and years. Because as I said, for a long time, I did feel shame, a lot of shame. And shame's a good thing to feel. Like, when you're doing something wrong, that's a good thing to feel. But when you just you continuously do it, and it just you become numb to that shame, and you don't feel it anymore. So you become shameless. And that's what happened to me.
When you were the first time going to these gay nightclubs in Dallas, you mentioned, I think you were 14 or 15. 14 or 15?
Well, I started at 14.
Okay, you're 14 years old.
Don't ask me how I got in.
Well, that's a